Previously on the Seventh Valkyrie, a new Greatwolf emerges from the deep forest somewhere inland of Rene. But based on Trisden's reaction, the welcome here is anything but warm. What does this showdown of the Greatwolves have in store? Well, find out now on the Seventh Valkyrie. Like an elegant solo rising from the swell of the forest's music, the other Greatwolf glided forward. It was the culmination of the forest's song, meeting Trisden equally and opposite at the center of the clearing. For a moment, their unsung songs collided, and then with an effortless grace, they began to circle each other at the heart of the clearing, and their songs began to intertwine. I wasn't sure if the green sparks that flew into the air between them were visible to my eyes or my sixth sense, but as the two wolves continued their dance, their songs began to meet as one in the middle, sparring back and forth, interplaying, examining, all while the forest continued its steady beat. Are they fighting? I didn't think so, but it was no beautiful, friendly greeting either. Their songs began to collide and resonate, tension rising as their tempos reached a fever pitch. The Greatwolves reversed direction, stuttering, twisting, speeding up, slowing, like they were testing each other. But never once did either retreat from the mirror image they carved across the ground, back and forth, in a gentle dance. Finally, with a gentle inflection, their tempo began to slow, and the music around us started to fall. They had both changed, Trisden the more so. Now, his energy resonated more gently against the deep forest. It was still recognizable as his own, but it seemed like over the course of their interaction, he'd become a little less foreign, like the forest around us had begrudgingly accepted him. Meanwhile, the opposite Greatwolf had flushed a slightly deeper green, with a dapple of gold, taking on a slight reflection of Trisden. And I think if I'd been able to look more closely, I imagine I would have even seen the slightest hint of him in the forest around us. In time, the song had completely faded away, and yet the two wolves still paced opposite one another, their green eyes glaring. The ritual, or whatever that melodic meeting of energies had been, seemed to be over, but there was still something hanging in the air between the two of them. Stopping on either end of the clearing, Trisden made to step forward, but was met with a warning growl from the other wolf. Stepping back, Trisden shifted side to side uncomfortably, glanced at me, and then laid down on the ground. The other wolf looked unimpressed and growled back. Finally, Trisden rolled over onto his back, showing his belly and letting out, dare I say, the cutest little growl that I had ever heard, which was somehow made even more adorable by the fact that I had seen him fight with brutal savagery. From upside down, he stared at his opposite wolf, until finally, they let out something like a sigh. It too, at last, let the tension fall from its shoulders. There was a sharp wind, and the giant wolf in front of us melted away like smoke, leaving behind a woman standing across the clearing from us. Well, 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 she said, with a smooth and steady voice like the breeze through the grass. At least you have not forgotten how to dance. On the ground, Trisden had transformed as well, but he hadn't moved from where he lay. I could see his wide, glinting smile in the moonlight as he rolled over onto his stomach and then hopped up onto all fours before standing on two and presenting his arms. Well, for you, baby, I'll always be willing to dance. Yes, and lay down, roll over, and show your belly, she said, exasperated. Just like you would for any girl who showed you a tuft of tail. I know you better than that, Trisden. Oh, come on, maybe, baby, Trisden said. Don't act so cold. You know you were always special to me. Ah, I'm sure, she said, rolling her eyes. Well, I'm telling the truth. There's no one who can hunt like you, Trisden said, counting on his fingers. Or sing like you, or dance like you, or, dance like you. How is life among the humans anyway? You ever find anybody who can make you howl like old Trisden used to? Well, first, yes. Unlike most males seem to think, your lower body is not a gift from God to all women. And second, you did not come here, wake half of the city with your call, and summon me for an exchange of the Lightfoot Waltz, just to make some desperate attempt to mate with me again, Trisden. And if you did, I will send you into exile. Hey, you know 2 things about me, May, Trisden said, tone shifting. The first is that I'm a sucker for a good-looking girl. Hiya. And the second is that I never fuck around when it's important. She crossed her arms, but the argument stopped there. To answer the question you were about to ask, I have a package for you from the air theme, he said. Boy, get out of that bush and introduce yourself to the lovely lady. Cyrus, that's you. Yeah, I'm going, see? I said, shoving myself out of the bush, stumbling to my feet and then dropping to one knee and bowing my head. She seemed important enough to do that. Thank you for allowing me to run under your stars, I said. Yet another phrase from my mental library that sounded absolutely fantastic, and another phrase I had no idea where it had come from. In the dim light, I could see she was thrown off. You bring me a wolf that smells like no wolf I've ever met, she said. Why? No wolf, May, Trisden answered. A Valguardian, first in centuries. A Valguardian? You find the first Valguardian since the Shattering and you're dropping him off here? This is something for the Council of Stars, not for a watcher living on Idara's doorstep. You know Midnight Black Greatjaw Aeritheme does not send orders lightly, Trisden said. Especially not personally delivered by me. You're to take the boy and harbor him, and find someone to help him refine his power. Harbor him? She asked. In the heart of the old city? The boy's strange enough to puzzle my nose. You think for a moment that anyone around will not notice the same? You do have a name, right, Cyrus? I didn't forget that, did I? Sorry, shut up. It's not the point right now. Trisden crossed his arms. There's enough chaotic energy in that city to keep anyone hidden, unless you forgot that someone of your power has existed there for decades. Hell, I could smell enough different scents on you that he'll just be another crazy one in the throng. Besides, the boy's light is dimmer than a fire oak sapling in the shade. That sounded like an insult. See, again, not the problem right now. It just takes one set of unwanted eyes to turn him into a target, May said. Oh, for heaven's sake, the Machine King is in the old city, anywhere but here. Who? Trisden asked. The most dangerous Edoran since the war, May said. Someone even the Watchers should be afraid of. And certainly not someone you want around when hiding a secret, incredibly valuable package like maybe the last Valguardian. The shadow of Apostolos has returned, May, Trisden said, and the clearing fell silent. Like it had heard us, the wind died, and then picked up again, coming from the west. Around us, the trees swayed, and against the silhouetted sky, it seemed a moment like the woman was swaying too. Oh, May said, and that was it. It may be time for the full moon's guard to fulfill our sworn purpose once more, Trisden said. And when that time comes, this boy may have a role to play. I can deliver your concerns about this machine man when I return, but for now, the boy needs to be around humans. He is not a wolf. He'll get along better in the city with you and your type. The clearing fell a different kind of silent at that, and I could see that even Trisden might have thought he'd crossed the line. May had tensed up, and based on the glow in her eyes, I thought she might turn into a wolf at any second. You will never, ever refer to a Watcher as anything other than a wolf again, May said. I may walk in a different skin, but it is forever under the same sun and stars. It is forever for the wild. May, I'm so... You, boy, Valguardian, May said. Do you understand me? What is your preferred language? She switched through two that I thought I recognized as Edoran and something else, but neither felt right to speak to her. Finally, I responded in the language that Trisden had been using. Whatever this one is? I asked. It feels right to speak to you in that one. A charming move to join me in the wild speech. Though, using it when we're in the city will provide some problems. It'll work for now. What is your name, boy? Cyrus, I said, though that part definitely didn't have a translation in wild speech. Cyrus Delgami. Well, young Valguardian, Cyrus, it seems you will be staying with me, at least for a time. I trust you understand the gravity of your situation. The boy fought the shadows with us, Trisden said. He knows. May looked at Trisden and then looked back to me. You will need to obey my instructions flawlessly if I can even hope to protect you, she said. Am I clear? I am sure I don't need to remind you about the dangers of the forces we face. Yes, ma'am, I said, bowing my head. I understand. I'll do whatever you say. Without the guidance of people like you and Trisden and Bram, I would be long dead. I'm a good listener. Her face softened. This is a dangerous world we live in, Valguardian, she said. More so now with the shadow of Apostolis awakened once again. But I will protect you like I would any member of my own pack, with fang and claw. Come now, child. I looked up at Trisden, who nodded to me and motioned over to her. You're in her care now, boy, Trisden said, patting me on the shoulder. And don't let what she thinks about Trisden distract you. She's as safe of a wolf as you can be with. He had enough emphasis on the word wolf to make his point. And though May's face didn't change, I could sense that she wasn't quite as mad as she had been. At least now she wasn't ready to kill him at any moment. Feeling Trisden's hand slip off my shoulder, I took a step towards May, and then turned around and gave Trisden a big hug, burying my face in his jacket. Thank you, Trisden, I said, squeezing the surprised Greatwolf tight. Thank you for everything. I hope that I can see you again soon. He seemed like he didn't quite know what to do with his hands, but eventually he lowered one of them and patted me on the back. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't, but you take care, boy. The words seemed a little awkward coming from him, but I felt the appreciation. Then he picked me up, twisted me around, and gave me a little shove towards May. The wind swirled up around him, and when I turned back, he stood towering over me in his wolf form, green eyes shining. May looked at him, a little bit sad, still a bit pissed off, but then she let a wry smile creep across her face. What, no try for a goodbye kiss? Perhaps you have become more of an honest man, Trisden. With a snort, and scarcely a look back towards me, Trisden turned and set off into the night, leaving me in the clearing with May. I didn't notice that my shoulders had fallen until May spoke. Most wolves are not much for goodbyes, May said. We are not sentimental people in that way. Though it didn't seem much, rest assured, your affection was understood. I stood for a moment, staring out at the woods, and then continued to walk over towards May. And now for some more rules, in addition to the fact that we will switch out of the wild speech, she said. Do you speak Uveran? I think so, I responded, in Uveran. Is that what language this is? Am I talking in Uveran now? You speak it more naturally than I do, she said, impressed. A Valguardian gift, perhaps. On to the new rules. First, you will not speak of what happened here under any circumstances unless I explicitly ask you to do so. And second, you will not tell anyone that you are a Valgardian. You are simply a strange, confused boy from far away with nowhere else to go. I have offered to take care of you, as a favor to an old friend. Don't worry about needing to come up with a fake backstory more than that. The old city is a place full of enough criminals, fugitives, and refugees looking for a fresh start. I'm not allowed to say is actually a very acceptable answer there. I nodded. Okay, that makes sense. Just one question. Did you say criminals and fugitives? Is there anything I need to do to get ready to deal with that? Just follow my instructions and you will be fine. Come now. There is still something we must do before we can rest. With that, she turned on her heel and walked off into the night, leaving me to follow behind. Just a strange, confused boy from far away, with nowhere else to go. Funny, that cover story was just my regular story. Or at least I tried to convince myself it was that way. Even as we walked, I still felt the words of the fire echoing in my head. Pathetic, weak, worthless. I hung my head and followed. Want to know what happens next? Join us on Patreon to become a hero of Edera and get early access to episodes along with bonus features, director's commentary, and the full Tab to Archive. You can also find other ways to support us at the links in the description, and we will see you next week.